I'm Tyler Roerick, and I am proposing that of the $73,249,990 that the Cultural Resources Division of the government gets from the even larger $19.7 billion state budget, $500,000 should be given to starving musicians to preserve our southern jazz and early rock cultures. I would like to use this money to give elderly starving blues and rock musicians gigs in nearby locations. This would enable the artists to perform their music in front of a large audience. The concerts would cost a small fee, which would go directly into the pockets of the musicians. This bill would be added to the already enacted Horn-Tootin' bill. This would make it easy for the government because all they would have to do is to amend an already enacted bill instead of having to create a whole new one, which would have to go through that whole long, deadly process that we learned that bills have to go through in order to get passed. This bill was created specifically to fund the North Carolina Symphony. The Horn-Tootin' bill was the first bill ever to continuously fund an orchestra. It passed in 1942, and to this day, still gives $500,000 to the orchestra from the government. Another way that we can approach this problem is through grants. Minnesota has already started using grants to preserve their Indian or Native American culture. In Minnesota, there is a small grant that gives up to $7,000 to nonprofit organizations, government units, tribes, and educational organizations in Minnesota that have projects that will help preserve and enhance the culture and history of Minnesota. There's also a grant that I found that was giving up to $20,000 to nonprofit organizations that work to preserve culture in the arts of Minnesota. The third and final grant that I found was given to a city in Monterey in 2006 that was used to help preserve the culture in their town. Grants would be great because they are extremely broad, so you can do almost anything with these grants, as long as it's used to preserve the culture or history of the chosen city or state in which it's given. What I'm really trying to get at here is that if North Carolina had these grants, we could use them to give to the starving musicians to give them the gigs that I was talking about. Or we could use this money to give directly to them so that way they can pay for their food, their bills, and their medical. Kind of something similar to that of food stamps, except for elderly starving musicians. It's like the old saying goes, you don't really know what you got till it's gone. So what will happen to our culture once these musicians are gone? Please help me give starving musicians a place to perform and a way for them to get money into their pockets so that they can preserve the culture that keeps this country alive. Thank you. Have a great final.
I feel I can justify my feelings, weary of living life, always seeking